think so. Great. Okay. Very good. Well, we're going to start by laying down on our mats. And I have a poem to start with for us today. So I would love to invite you to just take a couple of deep breaths. Feel free to close your eyes or to soften your gaze if you would like. Just bring your attention to the present moment. Allow that breath to kind of settle into your body, bringing all of that good oxygen into your lungs and into your bloodstream. And then as you continue to deepen your breath, I'm going to read this poem for us today. It comes from Morgan Harper Nichols, which many of you know is my favorite poet. And it says this: leave room for beautiful interruption, light, unexpected, arriving in the middle of the night. For perhaps here in the darkness, you will start to see the reality of all the walls you have built up around yourself and how they have kept you from living. For when you are broken, it might seem like the only thing there is to do is to head out in search of the love of another. But what if, instead of looking elsewhere, you looked right here at the walls you have been hiding behind for years? For the walls you built to protect yourself gave you a narrow view of the world. They stunted your limbs and you struggled to breathe. So maybe now is the time to allow light's interruption pouring in through the cracks, reminding you of meaningful life on the other side. You were seeking safety, but staying behind these self-made walls has never been the way. You need something more to comfort you in brokenness when the pain is tall around you, to remind you that even here, you are infinitely loved. And when these walls come down, you will see a broken, beautiful world around you, inviting you to step into a daily chance to live beyond the barriers of who you were. So as we lay here on our mats, continuing to breathe deeply, we're going to go ahead and take our feet to the mat. We're going to start to take our right knee in toward our chest. And we're going to rotate that right ankle. It's nice and slow. Continuing to breathe deeply. And then rotate that ankle the opposite direction. And then go ahead and take that foot down to the mat, and we'll take the other side, draw the left knee in and rotate that ankle one direction. Still being conscious of your breath, how it is filling your lungs and down into your belly space. And take that ankle the opposite direction if you'd like. Then settling that foot down on the mat again. We're going to heel toe our feet as wide as the mat. We're going to draw those arms down alongside our bodies. And then we're going to windshield wiper our knees from side to side. So leaving your feet where they are, we're just going to take those knees down to one side and back up, and then down to the other side and back up. You'll notice that my legs don't actually touch the ground, and that's okay. You're just working with the flexibility that you have today, and then not judging your body for what it can or cannot do. So we're just going as far as feels comfortable to us. Continuing to breathe, stretching out a little bit of those hip flexors on either side. Warming up the inner thighs and the outer thighs. And coming back to center, go ahead and draw both knees into your chest and then rock back and forth across that low back. When we're ready, we can come back to center. Allow those feet to come down. This time we're taking that right foot up toward the ceiling, drawing that leg in toward our chest slightly. Checking in that you're trying to draw your knees straight down to your chest, that you're not angling your foot out to the side, that it really is just kind of straight on to you. And then go ahead and cross that ankle across the left knee, leaving that right knee kind of out to the side there. And then drawing that left leg in toward your chest, remembering that you're in control of how much sensation you feel in this moment. So whether you want to draw this in real tight to your chest or whether you just want to leave your foot on the floor, that is up to you. You get to choose. Taking another deep breath. There's a lot of things that we don't get to choose in this life, but this is a moment when you do have choice. I was actually talking about that with a child last night, who's not my own child, but I was talking with him about some things that were happening at school, and he was a bit frustrated but didn't feel like he had a choice in the matter. And I said, the only thing that you can choose in this moment then is your attitude. So just a reminder that, again, we may not be able to control the circumstances around us. We may not be able to control those interruptions or how things go, but we can choose how we respond, how we allow that to affect us. When we're ready, we can go ahead and drop that down. Both feet once more to the mat, taking the left leg up. Again, drawing that knee in toward your chest. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and cross that ankle over top of the right knee, dropping the left knee out to the side. If this is comfortable for you, stay here. If you'd like, you can also pull that knee in a little further into your chest. Thinking about how we can't control circumstances around us today. There's sometimes just those days when things just don't go the way that you had planned. They just are not panning out or things like that. And today was one of those days for me. We were already making adjustments, and then I ended up spilling my coffee all over my car and all over me and my daughter. Poor thing, she had to go back inside and change just as she was getting ready for school. And fortunately, we were able to look at each other and just go, well, that happened, and just were able to laugh a little bit about it. But yeah, we can't control the things that happen always, but we can control how we respond. Taking another deep breath here. When you're ready, go ahead and drop both feet down. We're going to heel toe those feet together, allowing the knees to come out to the sides. If you'd like, you can take your hands to your thighs for a little bit of support. Or you can always, if you're at home, roll a blanket or grab a pillow or a stack of books or a yoga block if you have one, and set those underneath your knees to help this relaxation pose become more restful. intentionally thinking about relaxing that pelvic bone, your spine, as well as your inner thighs, your glutes, even the soles of your feet. Allowing that good breath to fill up those lungs and that belly space. When you're ready, you can go ahead and take your hands to your outer thighs, start to draw those knees together, and then heel toe those feet out to the edges. When you're ready, we're going to draw one knee in toward the center. Breathing deeply here. And go ahead and draw that knee up and then drop the other knee down toward the center. Just taking a few moments. And go ahead and draw that knee up once more, heel toeing those feet together once more. We're going to come back into that reclined bound ankle position, allowing the knees to come down to the floor. Again, hands to either side for support if you would like. Again, relaxing the pelvic bone, relaxing your spine as it extends along the floor. And then go ahead and take your hands to the outside of those thighs. Help your knees together. Heel toe your feet about hip width apart. We're going to take that right foot up toward the ceiling again. Drawing that into our chest. Then go ahead and take that leg across your body. We're going to return to a couple poses several times throughout this practice. And kind of the thought process behind that is there's nothing like returning to an old situation to recognize how much you have grown or changed. When you're ready, you can go ahead and start to work that leg out to the right, or taking it down as far as feels comfortable to you. You're using the right hand as support for that leg. Relaxing that inner thigh, relaxing those hamstrings. The top of your thigh is still engaged in this position. When you're ready, you can draw that back towards center, pulling that in toward your chest just a little further if you can. And then releasing that down to the mat. You're going to take the left foot, up toward the ceiling. I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but you may be in a situation where you go, a few years ago, I would have responded very differently in that scenario. And maybe you've done some work and some growth in your life, and you can see now the ways that you've changed and grown since then. When you're ready, you're going to take that leg across your body just slightly, getting a nice stretch on that IT band. Or maybe there's a situation that you recognize, I'd like to respond differently in that situation. So you're kind of in that pre-contemplative stage of growth, right? You're getting ready to do the growing. You're recognizing things are not as you would like them to be. When you're ready, you can start to work that leg out to the side. Again, using that left hand this time as support. Taking some deep breaths, making sure that both hips are still firmly planted into the mat. If you notice yourself kind of coming up off of the mat on one side, then just go ahead and draw that leg back further. Coming back to center, draw that leg in towards your chest a little further if you can. And then go ahead and bend that knee. Allow that foot to come down to the mat. We're going to go ahead and heel toe those feet together once more, allowing the knees to come down toward the mat. Getting a nice inner thigh stretch once more. And go ahead and draw those knees together. We're going to draw those knees in toward our chest and then rock back and forth across that low back. If you'd like to explore it, you can see if you can make this motion a little bit bigger each time you do it. Coming back to center, go ahead and drop those feet down to the mat. We're going to stretch our arms up overhead, getting a nice stretch on those shoulders. Taking one more deep breath here. And then releasing those arms down to either side. I'm going to invite you to take those knees into your chest once more. And if you can, we're going to rock straight up into a seated pose. And if that's not comfortable for you, then feel free to turn onto your side and then push yourself up into a seated pose. Here we're going to bring our feet about hip width apart. We're going to sit nice and tall, extending our arms parallel to the floor. And then from here, we're going to move into boat pose. So angling our angling our upper body back, keeping those arms parallel to the floor. Our heels are still making contact with the floor. You're engaging your core here, and you're welcome to stay here, or if you'd like a little more expression or a deeper sensation in this pose, you can bring one leg up at a time, like this, a little march in the air, or you can bring both legs up and hold that as a balancing posture. I'm going to keep my heels on the floor today, just so I can keep talking. But taking another deep breath here, checking in with those shoulders, that they're down away from your ears. And go ahead and sit up, extend the legs out in front of you. Sit nice and tall in our staff pose. So all of our muscles in our legs are still engaged. Our toes are pointed up toward the ceiling. Our shoulders are softened down away from our ears. Our hands are pressing into the mat. For some people, their arms will be straight, and for some people, they have a little bit more length in their arms, and so their arms will still be bent, and that's okay. And then when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and start to tuck our chins, roll down, and then start to roll forward over top of those extended legs. Coming again just as far as feels comfortable to you. Finding that balance of challenge versus not going too far, but not doing too little. You just want to find that edge where you can challenge yourself, but not too much. So often if we challenge ourselves too far, then we get discouraged, right? We go, oh, I'll never get it. I'll never be able to do that thing. Or we might tell ourselves something else right in that moment. We might even potentially actually hurt ourselves. But if we don't challenge ourselves enough, then we don't often grow in those moments either. So then we have the opposite thing of stagnation and feeling stuck, right? When you're ready, you can start to walk those hands back towards center, sitting up really nice and tall. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together in front of us for a butterfly pose. And so from here, you can either bounce those knees down to either side, or you can lean forward and use your elbows to go ahead and press down. Again, just noticing your body, noticing what it's doing today. Maybe there's something that is calling for your attention. If you can turn loving attention to it, I would invite you to do that. And then from here, we're going to walk our hands out over top of our feet. And we're going to round our back, almost like you were doing a cat pose. Really stretching through your shoulder blades here. Then walking those hands back towards your feet. And then lifting up so you can open up your chest a little bit. And then as you exhale, walking those hands out in front again, arching that back. Walking your hands back towards center, opening up the chest. And then last time, walk those hands out, arch your back. And then just simply round yourself up. Very nice and slowly. We're going to turn toward the long edge of the mat, coming into a seated open A pose. So from here, we're going to kind of work our way into a couple of poses. So from here, we're going to start by putting our hands on the mat in front of us, leaving our back straight if you can, and then just simply leaning down as far as feels comfortable to you. You might notice that you need a little bit of movement in this, so feel free to sway side to side or back and forth if that's comfortable to you. And while we're here, I'm going to read our poem for us again. It says, leave room for beautiful interruption, light, unexpected, arriving in the middle of the night. For perhaps here in the darkness, you will start to see the reality of all the walls you have built up around yourself and how they have kept you from living. For when you are broken, it might seem like the only thing there is to do is to head out in search of the love of another. But what if, instead of looking elsewhere, you looked right here at the walls you have been hiding behind for years? For the walls you built to protect yourself gave you a narrow view of the world. They stunted your limbs, and you struggled to breathe. So maybe now is the time to allow light's interruption pouring in through the cracks, reminding you of meaningful life on the other side. You were seeking safety, but staying behind these self-made walls has never been the way. You need something more to comfort you in brokenness when the pain is tall around you. To remind you that even here, you are infinitely loved. And when these walls come down, you will see a broken, beautiful world around you, inviting you to step into a daily chance to live beyond the barriers of who you were. When you're ready, we're going to start to walk our hands toward that left leg coming down again, finding that edge of where we can challenge ourselves, but where we're not hurting ourselves. I love that poem because it just speaks to the rawness of growth sometimes that we feel, that challenge of taking down those barriers of who we once were, the limitations that we sometimes put on ourselves or that others put on us, and just the courage to try, right? Ugh, that's a hard one. Just having the courage to try. It feels so vulnerable sometimes. When you're ready, you can walk back towards center. We're not going to stay here. We're going to keep walking those hands off to the right-hand side. If you all have a chance, I would highly encourage you, if you haven't already, to watch Brene Brown has a TED Talk that she did years and years ago now about vulnerability and wholehearted living, and how it does take so much courage, but it's so worth it when we do live into that space. So taking another deep breath here. We're going to walk those hands back towards center as we sit up nice and tall. We're going to draw those feet in together, and we're going to come back to our butterfly pose. So again, here, if you would like, you can bounce your knees, or you can lean forward, pressing those elbows into the inner thighs or into the knees as you draw those toward the floor. I would encourage you in this pose to draw your attention to your low back space. See if you can relax that low back space a little bit further. And then move your attention to your hips. See if you can relax those hips just a little further. And then when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and round ourselves up, taking our hands to those knees, pulling those knees together, sweeping the feet and knees off to one side. We're going to come up onto all fours. From here, we are going to start by drawing some really big circles with our hips. So we're going to imagine that our circles are going to be parallel to the floor. So we're drawing them like they're hovering above the floor. So that means we're going to walk our hands out in front slightly, taking our hips forward and then shifting them out to one side, back behind us, shifting those hips out to the other side, and then coming back forward. And see if you can do that in kind of one fluid motion, out to the side, back, over to the other side, and then forward. If you'd like to draw maybe 3 to 5 circles, depending on your own time and space and flexibility and all of that stuff, go ahead and do that. And you might find that as you do this, you might find kind of a sticky spot or a spot that feels kind of like it's stuck. You might need to just kind of hang out in that spot or go over it a couple of times, and that's just fine too. This time and space is about reconnecting mind, body, and spirit. So when you have done those circles, I'm going to encourage you to go the opposite direction. So again, out to the side, back over your heels, out to the other side, and then forward again. Just exploring the range of motion that you have here. Using those arms for support and your legs for support, but keeping your mind's eye on those hips. Again, maybe doing 3 to 5 circles depending on your own pace. And then when you're done with those circles, you can meet me in the front here in a modified plank pose. Very good. So from here, we're going to start to shift our hips back over top of our ankles, coming down into a child's pose, stretching forward, resting our head on the mat. Taking a moment to breathe, to do our reflective work. This poem talks about the walls that we build to protect ourselves, but that sometimes limit us and then kind of trap us in. So I'm going to ask us to consider today, what are those walls that we've built for ourselves? Taking another deep breath here. Go ahead then and pull yourself up onto all fours. We're going to step our left foot forward here. We're going to come into a low lunge. So you might have to kind of work yourself into this, and that's just fine. And then from here, we're going to shift our weight back onto that back knee, allowing the toes of the front leg to come up, stretching into half split. Then walking those hands forward once more, stretching into the right hip flexor. I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and do that at your own pace. So I'm going to exhale as I come back, and then inhale as I walk forward, opening up my chest a little bit. Maybe doing 5 or 6 of those back and forths. Just warming up your legs a little further. And when you've done all that you would like to do, then you can go ahead and meet me once more in this low lunge in the front. We're going to step that left foot back. And this time switching sides, we're going to step the right foot forward. Starting to work ourselves into the other side here, that low lunge. Just taking a few deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can start to shift your weight back to that back knee. Allow those right toes to come up off the mat. Stretching into that right hamstring. For half split. And then go ahead and start to go back and forth between those two poses. So you're lunging forward, and then you're shifting backward. I'm going to exhale as I shift backward, and I'm going to inhale as I shift forward. Again, going at your own pace. See if you can open up your chest a little bit when you shift forward. You kind of round that back if you would like as you move backward. Again, doing 5 or 6 of these. Really using that breath to help you know when to move. In yoga, we say we link the movement to the breath, to the mind. It's a yoking of all of those things together. So when you're done with your rotations there, you can end here in the front and then step that right foot back to meet the left. We're going to come into a closed stance. So we want our knees and our heels together here. And then we're going to shift our weight back over top of those heels and then come down once more into child's pose, reaching those arms forward long, kind of draping our upper body over top of our legs. That really gets at this low back space, helping that to stretch out. As we look forward toward our hands, we're going to pull ourselves up onto all fours. We're going to take our knees about hip width apart and tuck our toes, and then lift our hips up toward the sky as we walk our hands back towards our feet. If you would like, you can go ahead and bend your knees here, taking one hand in each arm. Stretching forward, just allowing that upper body to hang down for ragdoll pose. And then placing your hands on the mat, see if you can straighten your legs a little further. Stretching once more into those hamstrings. If you need, you can start to bend one knee at a time here. Getting a deeper stretch on one side at a time. And coming back to center, we're going to go ahead and bend those knees deeply. Put our hands on our knees and very slowly we're going to round ourselves up. We're going to come into our balancing postures. So if you guys need to move towards a chair or a wall or something for a little bit of extra support, you're welcome to do that. Today we're working on extended big toe. And so I think that I might also hold on to something today here. We're going to start with our feet about hip width apart, standing in that good mountain pose where our feet are firmly pressed into the floor. The muscles in our legs are all engaged. Our core is engaged. Our belly button is drawn in toward our spine. Our chest is open. Our shoulders are down and relaxed. Our chin is tucked slightly so that way our ears are over top of our shoulders, which are over top of our hips, which are over top of our ankles. Now let's just take about 3 deep breaths first in this mountain pose. Feeling the alignment in your body. The connection from the soles of your feet all the way up through your spine to the crown of your head. Reaching down with the pinky finger. And when you're ready, you can start to shift your weight to the left foot today. We're going to draw that right foot forward. And we're going to take our left finger, so point your finger and thumb, hook that around the big toe of that right foot. And from here, you're going to try to extend that leg out. And if you need to take that right arm out for a little bit of balance, you're welcome to. And bending that knee, you go ahead and bring that in, stepping down, kind of shaking out that other leg. I'm going to turn around to the other side here. Again, we're standing in mountain pose first. Checking in with all of those little posture things that make such a big difference. Shoulder blades are pulled down toward the spine together. Thinking about the crown of the head reaching up toward the ceiling. Softening your tailbone down. And then when you're ready, you can start to shift your weight to your right foot this time, drawing that left knee forward. This time you're taking the right index finger and thumb, looping that around the big toe of the left foot, if you can. And then from here, both for you, again, using that left hand as balance if you need it. And then when you're ready, bending that knee, stepping down and out to the side, returning to your mountain pose. Feeling that floor beneath your feet, connecting energetically in. It's almost like you were pushing your feet into the floor beneath you. Thinking of like a tree, how their roots grow down deep, which allows them then to grow up tall. One more deep breath. And then from here, we're going to move back to our mats and back onto our backs to kind of end our time together. So I'm going to encourage you to lay down. Drawing your knees into your chest when you're ready. Go ahead and rock back and forth across that low back. Coming back to center, we're going to take those feet down to the mat. You guys kind of know where we're going now. We're taking that right foot up toward the ceiling, drawing that leg in toward our chest. Then dropping that right ankle over the left knee, taking the right knee out to the side, bringing that left leg in toward our chest. Again, noticing the sensations that you're feeling in your body. Reminding yourself that you have a choice as to how much sensation you feel or don't. Then go ahead and release that down. And go ahead and take the left foot up toward the ceiling this time. This time dropping that left ankle over top of the right knee, taking the left knee out to the side, drawing that right leg in toward your chest. And when you're ready, you can release that all down. We're going to heel toe our feet out as wide as the mat. Windshield wipering our knees again, like how we did at the very beginning of our practice. Doing this 5 or 6 times. And when you've done as many as you would like, you can go ahead and heel toe those feet back to hip width apart. We're taking that right leg up toward the ceiling again. Drawing that across our body slightly, stretching out the IT band. Then opening that leg up out to the side. Taking some deep breaths here. Then drawing that back to center. Go ahead and bend that knee and then release that foot down to the mat. We're taking the left foot up now. Again, checking in that your leg is not turned out to the side, but that your foot is straight up and down there. And moving that across your body. When you're ready, you can start to take that out to the other side, allowing that leg to fall open. Taking one more deep breath. And then go ahead and start to move that back to the center, bending that knee, releasing that foot down to the mat. We're going to heel toe our feet together, the soles of our feet together, allowing the knees to come down to the mat. For our last reclined bound angle. And then I'm going to encourage you to draw your attention to the crown of your head, releasing any tension you feel across your forehead, down into your temples, down into your jaw, releasing behind your ears and along your neck. When you're ready, you can go ahead and draw those knees back together. We're going to heel toe those feet once more, about hip width apart, and then release each leg down to the mat for our final relaxation pose. I'm going to encourage you to check in with your shoulders, that they're down away from your ears, that your back is in a neutral position. If that's difficult for you to find here in laying on your back sort of a position, feel free to rotate to the side. So you're going to come onto your side, bending your knees, kind of making a little pillow for yourself with your arm. But find the final relaxation position that is comfortable for you, where your body is not going to be a distraction for you. And then take a couple deep breaths. And then I'm going to close this out by reading our poem for us one more time. It says, leave room for beautiful interruption, light, unexpected, arriving in the middle of the night. For perhaps here in the darkness, you will start to see the reality of all the walls you have built up around yourself and how they have kept you from living. For when you are broken, it might seem like the only thing there is to do is to head out in search of the love of another. But what if, instead of looking elsewhere, you looked right here at the walls you have been hiding behind for years? For the walls you built to protect yourself gave you a narrow view of the world. They stunted your limbs and you struggled to breathe. So maybe now is the time to allow light's interruption pouring in through the cracks, reminding you of the meaningful life on the other side. You were seeking safety, but staying behind these self-made walls has never been the way. You need something more to comfort you in brokenness when the pain is tall around you. To remind you that even here, you are infinitely loved. And when these walls come down, you will see a broken, beautiful world around you, inviting you to step into a daily chance to live beyond the barriers of who you were. We'll go ahead and take just 1 minute in our final relaxation pose to breathe and to just be, not to cultivate breath anymore, not to think about all the little things that we need to adjust, right? But just to simply be in our good bodies. When you're ready, you can start to bring your attention back to this moment. I'm going to encourage you to roll onto one side if you haven't already. And today I'm going to place my hands on my heart, but you are welcome to place your hands where it feels comfortable to you, whether that's maybe on your belly to help you continue to breathe, maybe that's open on your knees if you would like, or in some other position, but you're welcome to place your hands where you'd like. And let me pray for us. God, thank you that light is not restricted by the walls that we build around ourselves. But God, that you break through in these seemingly small interruptions that feel so inconvenient at the time, but can be so sacred. Would you help us to see the sacredness of those moments, to learn how to lean into growth when it feels so upsetting or uncomfortable in the moment. God, would you settle us in those moments? Would you call our perspective higher to see what you're teaching us in that moment and how we can move forward? God, we pray your grace over each person in this room and also those who are joining us online at a later date. God, would you just pour out your grace over us as we continue to lean in to the growth that you have for each of us. In your name we pray, and in your grace we go. Amen. Thank you. Thanks for joining me.